So it is now confirmed Ghana's most wanted man, Appiah Mensah, has been in the custody of the police in Dubai for at least 1 month. The detention of probably Ghana's most wanted was confirmed by the police in Ghana amidst conflicting media reports about his whereabouts. A statement issued by the Ghana Police Service stated Namwan, as he is popularly known, was apprehended on December 7, 2018 on a charge not quite related with the reasons why he is being pursued by the authorities here in Ghana. And I'll share the statement with you presently. So it's from the Ghana Police Service. It says Namwan arrested in Dubai. And it starts on Wednesday, January 9, 2019. The Ghana Police Service confirmed reports that an arrest warrant has been issued for the Chief Executive Officer of Men's Gold Limited, Mr. Appiah Mensah, a.k.a. Namwan. The two other directors of the company on charges of defrauding and two other directors of the company on charges of defrauding by false pretenses. This followed reports by customers of the company to that effect. It continues that same day, which is January 9, 2019, Wednesday, January 9, 2019, an Interpol alert was triggered to facilitate a search for him globally. Now, here's the interesting bit. On Sunday, January 13, Ghanaian officials in Dubai were informed by Emirati officials that they had already arrested Namwan as at December 7, 2018. His arrest in Dubai is to facilitate investigations into suspicions that he had been involved in the gold dealing trade gone bad within the Emirati jurisdiction. Now, this is what I was pointing out earlier in the headline, that he was arrested on charges unrelated to what the authorities in Ghana are seeking him for. Now, it continues. Ghanaian officials have visited Namwan in the custody of Dubai police. And it concludes engagements with Dubai authorities on the next steps have commenced, and the police administration assures the public the due process will be followed. And this is signed by David Akluz, Assistant Commissioner of Police, Director General of Public Affairs. Now, the latest on this story is that a high-powered government delegation is being dispatched to engage authorities of the United Arab Emirates on the possible extradition of Appiah Mensah. Deputy Attorney General Joseph Pemka says government is resolute in its quest to bring him to book. He spoke earlier on Joy FM's Top Story. Let's listen to him.
The reportage came in as to the arrest of the men's gold boss in faraway Dubai, and thereafter his detention. And as a result of the fact that we equally have matters pending here in Ghana against him and the company, His Excellency the President took those steps, led by the Minister for National Security, to ensure that something is done, and is done in the best interest of Ghanaians. And so this delegation, as you have pointed out, is on a mission to ensure that we try to strike a deal with the government of the Emirates to see to the fact that he is brought back to Ghana to face justice. Again, let me not preempt anything, but we're not mindful of the fact that all these are going to happen within the remit of international law and treaties. And so, by the combined effect of the Extradition Act and treaties, for that matter, we, strictly speaking, do not have that treaty with the UAE for extradition as such. But we're going to elevate this to law and diplomacy so that we try and get to the bottom of the matter there. If there are no specific charges he's answering in the UAE, and I repeat that, if there are no specific charges that he's answering in the UAE, all will be done within the remits of the law and diplomacy to get him extradited to Ghana to face justice and to answer to charges that have actually been proffered against him. So that is the purpose of this delegation. We are supposed to meet the authorities there with our consulate and our mission there, and then the processes will be going through for us to ascertain everything and then meet the security authorities and the government to get a way forward for this as far as bringing him back to Ghana to answer to the charges is concerned.
Right, so there was Deputy Attorney General Joseph Pemka there speaking earlier on Joy FM. Now, we're joining us online right now is security analyst Adam Bona, and he's going to be throwing some more light and giving us a lot more insight as to this story. Thank you very much for making time to speak with us, Mr. Bona. Now, one of the interesting things that comes up is that Namwan apparently has been in detention in the United Arab Emirates for almost a month at the time that authorities here in Ghana issued that arrest warrant. There are people suggesting that this clearly suggests some failing or shortcoming on the part of the authorities here, our national security authorities here. How do you react to that?
Thank you very much. Good evening to your cherished viewers, Israel. Yes, I believe that until the 9th of January, we weren't looking for Namwan. We weren't looking for him until the 9th of January. The only people who are purported to have been looking for him, I must confess, would be Iyoko. They had invited him and given him a self-recognition bail. And so as far as some of us are concerned, we were really not looking for him because we were really not looking for him until, what do you call it, the police were, there was a complaint from some friends who reported to the police. Tried looking for him and they got to know he wasn't within the jurisdiction of Ghana.
All right, we're having some challenges with the line to Adam Bona, security analyst, but he has been speaking with us on what he makes of this issue and the arrest of Appiah Mensah in the United Arab Emirates. And the issue is that he was arrested on as far back as December 7, 2018. Now, government authorities here went ahead to issue an arrest warrant when really, at the time of the issuing that arrest warrant, he already been arrested or been in detention in the United Arab Emirates. We'll try and get back to him. And there are other angles to the story that we're going to explore. We're going to get a reaction from customers, aggrieved customers of Men's Gold. We have a representative here in the studio. We'll be speaking with him in a bit. But this Men's Gold scandal has brought to the fore the issue of Ponzi schemes that have, from time to time, emerged. And we put together this report on what these issues actually represent.
A Ponzi scheme is a form of fraud in which a purported business pays huge returns to earlier investors using funds obtained from newer ones. It is named after Charles Ponzi, who became infamous for running such an operation in Boston in the 1920s. To avoid being a victim yourself, these are some red flags to spot one before it's too late. 1. Ponzi schemes usually offer abnormally high guaranteed returns of more than 10% or more every month. 2. They have a vague business model and mostly tell you their investment process is confidential. As MD of Fidelity Bank, Julian Oponi explains, it's unlike usual banking.
Now that's different from standard banking, which is about financial intermediation, where what you're meant to be doing is you invest a certain amount of capital to create an infrastructure. And the infrastructure is meant to go to the part of the society that has an excess of resources and wants to deploy it in a certain way that they can get, an appreciable return.
3. Most Ponzi schemes investment products are usually based in places far away from where they raised funds. Lawyer Isankuma explains.
So if there's this gold, mythical gold, that is trading and bringing money on an exchange we do not know about, in a country we do not know about, and you refuse to submit your documents to the SEC to vet, to even decide whether your scheme can be licensed. And so if your business is not robbing Peter to pay Paul, don't rob Peter, pay Paul. Now, if you can't pay Paul without robbing Peter, then you're a Ponzi.
4. Don't be fooled It is true that early entrants tend to benefit most, but there is a catch.
The problem is you don't know when it ends. So if a Ponzi scheme has a life span of 10 years, those that probably enter 7, 8, 9, 10 may struggle.
And yes, it doesn't really matter how long he's been in operation.
Madoff operated this for 20 years, the Ponzi scheme in U.S., in the center of the stock exchange market in England, in the U.S., for 20 solid years. It was the 2008, 2009 bubble bust that actually exposed him. Other than that, he could operate for 100 years, even in the midst of American solid regulation.
Well, if you want to ignore all these signs and proceed to invest in such schemes, at least don't forget there is no known history of anybody in Ghana being jailed for running such a scheme. But many have died as a result of it.
Now, the people who have been caught up in all of this are the customers of the gold dealership firm, Men's Gold, and I have joined in the studio. I have one of them joining me in the studio right now. He's Mahmoud Salifu, and he invested 42,000 cedis, and he's just telling me that he invested shortly before the company went bust. Thank you for making time to join us, Mahmoud. What's your reaction to news that Appiah Mensah has been arrested in Dubai?
It's a mixed feeling because we don't know how this is going to end, because we were agitating right from the beginning that the man be arrested, and so that whatever is in his account or other properties could be salvaged to try to pay the customers. But the government has delayed all these while, and so it has taken about 4 or 5 months. Do we know how much of the assets has been liquidated by Nam1 himself, or how much of the assets have changed hands? And so at this time, it has come too late, but this is just the beginning. Bringing Nam1 here is not the end. And it's not the prosecution that we really want as customers.
All right.
It's about getting us the money. The money is what is most important to us.
Right.
As for the prosecution, it's a secondary matter. It can be talked about later. But as soon as he comes, the government should sit down with him. Let us see a payment schedule on how the man is going to pay us our monies. That's the most critical thing, because people are dying. A lot of people can't even pay for their rent, can't pay for their children's school fees. Some are stroke-ridden and they can't afford medication. So at this point, it's not about the man's prosecution. So all along, bringing him is just one step.
Just
but there
one
are
of the things
thousands of
for
steps.
you were interested in getting him not to face justice necessarily, but to explain where the funds are and how he can pay you.
Yeah, that is the most important thing at this moment.
All right.
So, but the other issue is that why did the government delay so much?
Why did it take so long?
Why did it take so long?
I'll come to you, since I have you here in the studio with me, but I have been joined back this time on Skype by Adam Bona, our security analyst, and we're going to be talking about how government or the authorities have handled this issue. Now, thank you once again for joining us, Mr. Bona. So you're explaining to us, or you are sharing with us your insights regarding the arrest of Nam1 and the fact that he's been in detention in the United Arab Emirates for almost a month at the time that the authorities said they were notifying Interpol that they wanted him to be brought to justice.
Yeah, that's correct, Israel. And good evening to your cherished viewers. It's interesting to note that when I hear, especially the media say, didn't we know he was in detention? I must admit that from where I sit, I will comfortably tell you we were never looking for Nam1. We're never looking for Appiah Mensah, popularly known as Nam1. Were we ever looking for him? We weren't looking for him until I think the first week of January, where some customers decided to go to the Ghana Police Service and make a formal report that this man is suspected to have defrauded them and scammed them. And therefore, with that complaint in hand, the Ghana Police Service then when I think started the process of going to court around the 8th of January. And so by the 9th of January, they ended up securing a court warrant. And they needed a court warrant, first of all, because they needed to trigger the Interpol alert so that all the 94 or so countries would be alerted of the fact that there is a fugitive on the run. And so for me, we are also aware that Iyoko had some warrant, which I believe is a warrant because they have prosecutorial powers. But the point is that why didn't they inform anybody? Why didn't they liaise with the police? Why didn't they inform the general public of the fact that this suspected, fugitive is someone who is of interest to the state in terms of security? We have to also ask these questions of the Iyoko. What were they waiting for? Because we are told he was put on the watch list of flight risks. He's not supposed to have exited the borders of this country or left this country, but he left. Then you go to the airport. We have the aviation security. He had a personal jet, which a leased jet that he was using for his own business. This jet sat, on the tarmac at the airport, but it left. Did they do any due diligence whether he found himself there? They didn't do all that. So we weren't looking for him. And therefore, there was no way anyone would have known that he's actually in detention in the Emirates or, in Dubai.
All right. Mr. Bonana, one of the things that comes across all of this is that people feel that this is quite embarrassing to us as a country, that we have been looking for someone we said we issued an arrest warrant for on January 13th. No, we issued an arrest warrant on January 9th, except this gentleman has been in the custody of the Emirati officials as far back as December 7th. So at the time we issued the arrest warrant, he was actually in detention in another country.
Exactly.
Now, and it took us, what? It took about 4 days for us to be notified that the gentleman was in detention. During that 4 days, we're supposed to have uploaded some information or passed on some information to Interpol. How is it possible that over the 4 days, we still didn't know that he was in detention in the United Arab Emirates for them to rather notify us? I'm not too sure how this strikes you.
Well, like I said, lack of collaboration, because I know we have a consulate in Dubai. We have a consulate that represents the interests of Ghana in Dubai. And so my point is that in all this, somebody didn't do his job, and I would lay the blame at the doorstep of Iyoko. Because first of all, if they had started early, what would have happened was that they would have followed his trail and be able to determine that his past year, his past year, his past year. But fortunately, we now know suspected, we know, we have an idea of where he is. The only difficulty is that we don't have an extradition treaty or agreement with that country, with Dubai or the Emirati country. And so therefore, we hope that our leaders, those who are, I know some of our, leaders are leaving the country, the shores of this country tonight. Hopefully by tomorrow morning, they would have landed in Dubai, hoping that they are going to convince their counterparts in Dubai to say that this man, we need him, because if we don't bring him back, the customers, the 1 and whatever million customers, are going to run amok in this country, and therefore he's a security risk. If we don't bring him back, it's going to pose a huge security risk.
Yes,
that's
Mr. Bonner, the challenge though with that is that if they have the Emirati officials or Emirates officials have an issue with him, they would want to prosecute that first before they'll pass him on to us, which would mean that if he has to serve time in the United Arab Emirates, we'll have to wait a while longer. That is, if whatever arrangement we're trying to reach with the authorities in Emirates does not go through.
Yes, we have to be looking at that option, knowing very well that this is a country that takes their issues very serious. They take their issues so serious. And so it is, let's not begin to think that once he's been arrested, it's the done deal that he's going to be repatriated back into Ghana. It's not going to happen that way. It's going to be a lot of negotiation. But I believe that there is that window of opportunity. We have very good working relationship with the Emirates or with the Arabs. And so I want to believe that when our leaders go there and they are convincing enough, then what will happen is that they are going to produce him before a court, because the fact that you have an extradition treaty with a country doesn't mean that once you are arrested, you are repatriated. Usually you are sent to court for us to be able to convince the court that, you know what, when we bring him back, our courts are sane enough to make sure that he goes through due process, he would have his day in court and duly prosecuted. And so mine is that easy. Israel, we need to be very cautious of whatever we are saying, circumspect of whatever we are saying, but the bottom line is that we need to be very optimistic of the fact that this man is likely to face some justice. You know, very last minute hitches. If they fail to bring him back because they have to prosecute him there, I believe that he can be tried in absentia. And if he's tried in absentia, probably, if he's found guilty, he will still come and serve his term here. If he's not found guilty and is released, he comes and is a free man. But just like the customer in your studio did say, been advocating that the most important thing in this equation is the customer. Right. The customers they want their money. Whatever government wants to do with him, I believe that 99 or 100% of the customers would not really want to know. Once you pay them, once the guy is brought back and the monies are paid to them, then they will be happy. But anything less than that, then there will be an issue. But let's not also forget that he's not the only one who has been cited in this warrant. There are two more persons, the wife and then the sister. If Namwan is brought back without the wife and the sister, he could come and say, wherever the money is, my wife and my sister know where the money is. And so let's not leave any room and focus all our attention on the CEO, right, because usually you bring him back and he could say, well, the money is not with me, it's with the other directors. Then we begin another wild goose chase of the wife and the sister. So whilst we are going after him, trying to bring him, let's look for the wife and the sister because they are also cited in this warrant. All right.
Thank you very much, Adam Bona. Adam Bona is a security analyst with the Security Warehouse. I'm coming back into the studio to Mahmoud Salifu. Now, we have heard what the security analyst has said, and he sides with you. He thinks that the most important thing is that you guys or government finds a way of getting your money to you. I mean, not necessarily taking it from state coffers, but wherever they can find it, retrieve it from Appiah Mensah, they should give it to you. What are your next steps as the customers, aggrieved customers? Well,
for now, you see, before I get to that, there was a press release by the Ministry of Information telling us that the government cannot and will not use the taxpayers' money to pay us. And I wonder where the Information Ministry and government, for that matter, had this from. Because no customer ever made that point. All right. All along, we've been saying that government, get the man arrested. Let's try to see whether we can get some of the assets and our bank accounts, freeze them, and try to settle us with that. So that is fine. Yeah. But the other issue I want to address is that all along, you hear government saying that we'll bring him and for him to face the rigors of the law. But it doesn't make mention of how to settle us, the customers, which is the most important thing in this matter. So for you, it doesn't matter so much about facing the full rigors of the law, but it's for you to get your money back, yes, wherever he has it. Wherever he has it. That is the most important thing. And apart from that, earlier, when Security and Exchange Commission stepped in to close down Men's Gold, I think what they should have done was to find a way of getting us our money before they close it down. Because in the Securities Act 2016, Act 929, it says that where the commission, that is the SEC, yeah, is satisfied that monies have been obtained without a license or contrary to the terms of the license, the commission shall, in writing, instruct NAM1, as it is in this case, to pay us the money, yeah, and the accruing interest Okay. So from day one,
that is what you wanted to happen.
That's what should have happened, and that's what the law says.
Okay.
I mean, Securities Act.
We do not have we do not have much time, Mahmoud Salifu. But thank you very much for.
It's a pleasure. It's a pleasure.
Studio. We're watching Journeys from. We're taking a break to bring you business news, and coming up in business news, Ghana Railway Company Limited begins a demolition exercise to remove illegal structures along the Accra-Tema railway lines. And that's still to come in the bulletin. Do stay tuned. We'll be back. Sandra, I think we'll be here with that station. And one other major story that we have for you this evening, the Public Utilities Regulatory Commission, PRC, has fought off claims new managers taking over the Electricity Company of Ghana will hike tariffs. Minority spokesperson on energy, Adams Mutowakilu, had earlier claimed the energy sector is in crisis because of ECG's spiraling debts. He says it's now at almost 2 billion Ghana cedis. He blames the situation on government's decision to reduce electricity tariffs last year. The Ghana Grid Company is asking for as much as 2 times what it currently charges for transmitting power countrywide, saying it will struggle to operate without it. The PURC, however, says the review will be announced by February 1. There's more in the following report.
The power players, including NEDCO, ECG and GRIDCO, among others, had asked for an increase in tariffs last year. This, however, did not happen with government's push for reduction getting endorsement of the PURC. For the year 2019, the story remains the same as the power players maintain only an increase would ensure their survival.
For looking at our costs and our projections, we came to realize that the tariff of 4.897 pesos per kilowatt hour would be sufficient for us to be able to continue to do business. But it's more important that we're able to sustain this business into the future.
While the fixed cost is 0.1481 cedis per kilowatt hour. If we add the variable cost to the fixed cost, it gives us a total of 0.4305. as against the existing tariff we have now, which is 0.307555, and that gives an increase of about 39.98%.
The Trades Union Congress is urging PRC to disregard the cause for an increase in tariffs.
We think that with fuel prices coming down or stabilizing, and the fact that we are now going to use more gas, which has a relatively cheaper cost, the fact that inflation is stabilizing below 10%, we think that there's still room for further reduction in fuel utility tariffs.
Commissioner at PURC Ishmael Ejekumhene says they are yet to decide the tariffs. He also addressed concerns about possible astronomical hikes with the takeover of ECG by new managers.
They are being regulated by PURC. As far as the laws of Ghana is concerned, it's only the PURC that approves tariffs. No other person, not even the World Bank, not even the president of this country approves tariffs to come from PURC. And doing what we need to do to make sure that we pay fair prices for electricity and nothing outrageous.
Thank you very much. An announcement is expected to be made by February 1 when new managers of ECG take office.
All right, you're watching Joy News Prime. We're taking a break, but we're bringing you some more business right now, and we're going to be talking about fares in the internal carrier industry. So we're talking about internal flights and the fact that the Ghana Civil Aviation Authority has been talking about competition, and that's something that the African World Airlines is doing, is not, is anti-competitive. Well, Sandra Feno is going to be coming back onto the set, and she's going to be telling us all about that. So do stay tuned for that. It's something really interesting that you would want to know about. Stay tuned.